Abby from Motor City Nerds here, and we have a new Mayfair Witches trailer to react to. And I am in the I started the witching hour. Thank you guys so much because I love it. I started the witching hour last week, and I'm about a quarter of the way through. I'm absolutely loving it. And oh, I wore this because if you guys saw my post on the community tab, it is green, but you just can't tell on screen. But either way, when they were saying the cursed jewelry that the Mayfair ladies had, and they specifically talk about the emerald necklace, I was like, Claudia, an interview with a vampire. But yeah, let's check this new trailer out. I'm really excited. I'm so geeked.
I've spent years building the life I thought I wanted, but there's something inside of me, something that I can't explain.
Oh my god, I'm
And
loving
I'm
this. Oh my
afraid
god, and she even has the blue eyes and dark hair.
I can't control. I don't understand anything that's happening to me.
Because she must be the daughter that was adopted, right?
This power goes way back in your family.
Do all the Mayfairs have gifts?
You're just beginning to see the world behind the world. If you open your mind, you can be transformed.
There are some who will lie to you. Evil comes in many forms.
I love that. I love that. That's so
together.
cool. Oh, is that the man?
Command. Your gift is the strongest thing I've ever felt.
The darkness is in her. I fear for us all.
You're special. Can you feel it?
For the first time in my life, I know exactly
That was
who I
trippy.
am.
Oh my god, guys. I'm excited. So, not only am I just excited because the Anne Riceverse and we were all right and it's going down, reading this book not only hit me in the feelings because the whole Irish Catholic thing they describe is essentially my dad's side. Like, my mom always said that she never saw my granny sit down and eat a meal. Like, she never saw her sit down. She was constantly just taking care of the kids, taking care of the men. That's just what happened. And then with my aunts, they take it's a whole thing. And I was like, oh my god, this is hitting me right in the soul. And then when he was like, no, I escaped through movies and all this stuff, I was like, oh my god, that's what I did when my dad passed away, and yada yada yada. And it really hit close to home with that. And then when they were talking about never giving up your last name, my mom wouldn't give up hers. Like, she hyphenated it, but she was like, no, I ain't getting rid of my last name. And so I was just like, oh my god, I'm really really loving this a lot. But so many connections. I mean, of course, because it's New Orleans, and of course all these books connect. Like, they connect, but they're not directly connected. You know what I'm saying? And they go all into detail about how this family not only was of French descent, but also owned a plantation and a sugar plantation. But they weren't. I think they said they weren't living in America yet, or something along those lines. And then they said that they stated that somebody was black and mixed, and I was like, oh my god, maybe this is why, because somebody said that in my comments about Interview with the Vampire when everybody was saying, oh, it's gonna be awful, they're gonna handle it terribly, it's gonna be pandering, it's gonna be gross and all this stuff. And then it wasn't. It was great. So sorry, I'm trying to get this open, but I'm like, oh, this is straight in the book. This isn't the show, this is the book. And so I was just like, okay, somebody, and if you are that person, let me know down in the comments. You were the one who said maybe not only did the change of race of Louis and Claudia, I think, added cinematically and told more important messages through that story with a camera, but somebody was like, well, what if I was thinking, what if they make him like somehow related to Akasha or whoever else, and this, that, and the other thing, and it might have more to do with than just saying important messages to the audience. And maybe, because I'll have to go back and find the text that they exactly said, but I remember being like, oh my gosh, and I was just like, oh my, this could be a total connection to Louis. And then in that trailer, they showed somebody that they didn't look very white in that painting, and I really like that part of the book of them saying, like, this has been going on for so long that people can't even name, the people in the family can't even name who these paintings are of, and this man, and they say it's the devil, but I don't know yet, but they call him Lasher, I'm pretty sure, right? Is that why the second one's called that? But either way, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. And I was looking online and people were complaining about the length, but then again, I'm somebody who reads Stephen King. But after Interview with a Vampire, I am so pumped for this. And the way Anne Rice talks about New Orleans, and like, you can just, man, I know it's cliche when people say like, oh, especially in film, like the city is a character, but like no, New Orleans itself is very much a character in Anne Rice's work, and I really love it a lot. But thank you guys so much for telling me to read these, because I really wasn't planning on it. I was planning on just going into the show and rereading the vampire ones, and I'm so glad that I'm reading. There's something hauntingly beautiful about the way she writes, and you're just swept up into it, and I love it. And right now, where am I at? I'm still getting like the backstory on all of them, but I'm assuming that these I'm not allowed to say words on here, otherwise I get in trouble. Before she is about to, oh my gosh, I just realized there's a connection there too of Paul walking off the edge, and then this family. But it seems to be these women are doing it when they're pregnant, and also in the real world, postpartum and pregnancy depression are real things. So take that very seriously, men and women, and just that is a very real thing. And my friend didn't know that was like an actual thing, and I was like, no, that's very real. But in this supernatural story, this is my guess here. So if you know the book, don't tell me. It's something about continuing this bloodline, and sometimes maybe they might not want to do that because you're in this family. And I really like the way the school, the nuns and the priests are talking about, oh, this one was so sweet and nice. They were good kids. Like they were good kids. Were they mischievous sometimes? But yeah, they were good kids. But we all knew something's up. You know, they're messing with some stuff they shouldn't. So it's like almost like this. All the women in this bloodline control or get powers from the man, and I'm not that far yet, but I'm so geeked for this. I'm so geeked to do connections and ties. And like I said, when they started honing in on the jewelry being cursed and don't touch her jewelry, but they specifically were talking about the emerald one, and then in Interview with a Vampire, it might have just been like a nod to us, to the fans of the books, to go like, oh, see. But then I was like, oh no. And then it was like, oh, anybody that specifically has that emerald is cursed. And guess who has that emerald? Claudia. And I was like, oh. And if you know story, you know what happens. But yeah, I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. I'm so geeked for this. I am so pumped for this. And I'm loving the book.